341 yards rushing by the Bills. That's an AFC playoff record. Now, all this week we heard how the Miami Dolphins were going to have to stop Thurman Thomas. He tore him up for 148 yards rushing on 35 carries 2 weeks ago. So what happens today? He outdoes himself. He has 158 yards rushing, and he had a little help from his friends as Derek Holman and, of course, Tyndale with that touchdown run. The Bills 341 yards. And although the stats won't reflect that the Bills thoroughly dominated this game, now, one of the things that Thurman Thomas was asking after the game, why didn't Tom Olivadotti, the Dolphin defensive coordinator, make an adjustment?
Well, it does surprise me a little bit, over the course, ever since Olivadotti has been there, when you do things to hurt him, he doesn't really make a lot of changes. He doesn't make a lot of adjustments. And, when we saw what defense that he was in, we kind of felt that, hey, today could be a good day for rushing the football.
Down and 10, coming out from the 30.
I'd say good day is putting it mildly. And to add injury to insult, in the second quarter, Thomas actually flattens Olivadotti on this 12-yard run. Thurman helps up the beleaguered defensive coordinator, and that's something that Dolphin fans may not do. They may not be quite so forgiving of Tom Olivadotti, who I would imagine might be on his way out, although Don Shula said, Mike, that he's going to stick around for another season with the Miami Dolphins. But their season is over as the Bills head back to Pittsburgh, and that's a story from Rich Stadium.
Okay, Ed, we'll see you in a few minutes in sports. A lot more coming up, Mary Alice.
Can't wait to see it all. Great. Thanks, Mike. And, of course, Bortz, and you have a lot of highlights to pick from tonight.
Just need the highlights from, I will say, the first 30 minutes.
Right, good enough.
Usually the coaches say you have to play 60 minutes. Not in this one. Well, you only need to know one stat when these two teams tangle. In the last 18 meetings, the team that has won the ground game winning 17 of them. And with that in mind, Miami has Thurman Thomas on its mind. Here come the bad guys, led by number 51, Brian Cox. And with the help of 73,000 fans, here come the good guys. First drive of the game, little play action. Jim Kelly going deep to Steve Tasker, wide open down to the 2-yard line, 26 yards. Watch number 33, Tim Tyndale in motion, throws the key block right there on big Tim Bowens, and that frees Thurman Thomas into the end zone. 7-0 Buffalo. Second quarter up 10-0 when the Bills going for more, and they would have it, but Jim is picked off right there by Gene Atkins, killing the drive. 10-0 Bills. At this point, then more big ground for the Bills to cover. Thurman Thomas, big hole, 33 yards at 158 yards on the afternoon, and that's setting up maybe the run of the afternoon. Look at the moves by the rookie Derek Holmes, eluding 2 Dolphins right there, 3, cuts back, goes 21 yards for the score. That made it 17-0 Buffalo. And look at Tim Bowens on the sideline. Hey guys, what can we do to stop this team? Still in the first half, 37 yards. Kelly to Steve Tasker. That made it 24-0 Bills. That was the score at halftime. And then a little icing on the cake, seldom used Tim Tyndale gets into the secondary, goes 44 yards. That made it 34-7, the Bills winning it, 37-22, not really that close. A record, AFC playoff record, 341 yards rushing for the Bills on the afternoon, and Stu Boyer at the stadium has more on that.
Dolphins defensive coordinator Tom Olivadotti probably has nightmares about Thurman Thomas. Even Thurman can't explain why he tortures the Dolphins.
It's just one of those situations where, this is our rivalry. This is who this city wants us to beat, really. Whether we go 2-14, make sure the main victories that we get are against the Miami Dolphins. And we just went out and played a heck of a game, offense, defense, and special team. I really can't explain why I've had so much success against these guys.
Well, the guy's a great back. He's a great competitor. I've said this before. I'll say it again. He's got a heart as big as Texas.
They were sort of sometimes concentrating on some of the passes we were doing on them, and all of a sudden, boom, the run would open. Thurman a couple of times came back to the sideline after a series and he says, man, some of these long runs, every time I get a long run, I almost start feeling like I'm going to pull my hamstring. He says, these long runs. I said, good, I hope you keep feeling that way as long as it doesn't pop. But, when a team does that, it's just very, very gratifying when we're able to put up those numbers.
The Bills running backs, Thurman Thomas, Derek Holmes, and Tim Tyndale, helping the Bills set an AFC playoff rushing record. Mike?
Thank you, too. Now let's go out to Rich Stadium. Sports Director Ed Kilgore. And Ed, you know, the first half of this game reminded me of the AFC Championship game back here in 1990 against the Raiders back then.
Mike, you're right. In fact, another game it reminds me of, you remember when the Philadelphia Eagles were here 2-3 years ago when Buddy Ryan was the big defensive guru there, and the Bills jumped off to a quick 24-0 lead and then had to kind of hang on. It was similar to that today. As a matter of fact, center Ken Hall was asked if it was easier when they had the 24-0 lead, and he said, no, that wasn't the case.
Well, it does, but you still couldn't relax. You know, everybody's on the sideline. We're pacing. You know, you look out there and 13 still out there, you know, and they get the onside kick, and you really start pacing then. So, you know, actually a lot of us have been taken out of the game at that point, and then they get the onside kick to go down, and we had to go back in.
And, of course, the final stats really not at all indicative of the game. Both teams had over 500 yards total offense, over 1,000 yards gained by both teams. But the important stat, the Bills' 341 rushing yards, as Stu alluded to. Now, the bad news for the Bills, and this is bad news, Steve Tasker was not overly optimistic about his chances to play next week at Pittsburgh. He has a pulled hamstring. He said it's also a bit of a tendon problem. He considers himself questionable, but knowing Steve like I do, he did not seem overly optimistic today, but maybe Abe Abramowski can work wonders again. We'll certainly hope so. Certainly from the Bills' standpoint, Tasker now is becoming a very, very key part of that offense as well as returning punts. So that's it from Rich Stadium. Mike, back to you.
Ed, thanks very much. I know tonight you're going to have a package on the Bills' offensive line, and they were the difference in this game. We'll look forward to that. Thanks very much.